Hi, Nasreen, how are you doing?
Hi, Vanita. Thank you so much. I'm doing good.
I'm so glad you were able to join us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Nasreen Sheikh, and I'm a survivor of modern day slavery. I'm also a social entrepreneur and advocate for global human rights.
Just amazing. So, Nasreen, you grew up in Nepal. Please share your journey with us.
Oh my God, my journey is quite intense. I born in a small village, a small undocumented village on the border of India and Nepal. And undocumented means like people who born in that village. We don't have birth certificates, like there's no regulations or like still my village is undocumented. So if you try to find in maps or the books, you couldn't find it. So growing up in my village, I witnessed a lot of atrocities against women and children, and just that area is very heavily populated, and women's have almost like no rights, and still to the date, young girls are being forced into marriage, and it's very shocking, and the world does not know about it. I mean, they might know, but not many people are talking about it because the people in that area is very voiceless, and we are struggling with the basic human rights. So that's the area I come from. I also don't know exactly how old I am. I can always guess, and I always tell people you should guess for me how old I am because, and I think maybe 28, 29 years old. But in my village, my father, he was working for the car industry in a very terrible conditions, and he was receiving less than $15 a month, and that put him into a very severe condition, and he lost his brain before I was even born. Yeah, because his working condition was so bad.
Nasreen
So
lost his what?
what's that?
What did he lose?
He became disabled with the brain. His
Oh,
brain stopped working. So, so that put me to more vulnerable situations, and in my village sending children to the factory was very normal experience. So at the age of 9 or 10, I ended up in a small 10 by 10 room in the capital city of Kathmandu. We were 6 people. We ate, we worked, we slept in that tiny room. Felt like a prison cell, and we were forced to work from 10, 12 to 15 hours a day. In the end of the week, usually on Thursday and Friday, we would wake up around like 4 a.m. and work and work and work and work and work and work until 9 p.m. and still the pile of clothes would be not finished. And that's when I really started to hate those clothes, and I started to talk to the clothes that whoever is going to wear these clothes, I hope they can feel me. I hope they can feel my bloods, my tears, my energy. And but in that time, I had nobody to talk to, so I would talk to that shirt and that clothes that I was making, and I hated it. And I said, whoever is going to wear this, they will wear the similar suffering that I was experiencing. So I tell people that if you don't know where your things come from, you might be consuming someone else's suffering. And in the sweatshop, we didn't had bed, so we slept on the pile of clothes that we made. We were fed like usually white rice, once in a while rotten grapes, and that gave us very low nutrition, and I still remember that some of our colleagues were having many different disease, diarrhea, coughing, and we had no one to talk to, and if we get sick, all we get is paracetamol. And so we can keep continuing finishing the deadlines that we had.
And did you get any days off? Did you get any time off at all? Did you get any holidays, weekends?
No, we didn't had any weekend off. It's only the time that when we finished the quota, we would have a few hours, and then after that, we would have again the quota come. So it wasn't like today's Saturday or Sunday we will have off. Now we didn't had those types of system set up.
So you just had a few hours break till the next session of clothes were brought to you.
Yeah, as soon the quota will be finished, then the next quota was, it would take few hours to come to the sweatshop. And yeah, we didn't had like any systems of like days off or the weekends or the holiday. We would just keep working.
And were the other people in your room, were they children of your age, or were they adults, or was it mixed?
Mixed, yeah. There was one other children too, and a couple of adults.
Couple of
Mix,
adults. And
mix, yeah.
everybody's sleeping in the same 10 by 10 room, 6 people.
Yes, yeah. We ate, we slept, we worked in that same room. We used to move our machine in the side so we can make enough space. And because we didn't had a space for the bed, so that's how we were using the clothes as a make it into a bed or make it into a pillow and sleep on that because yeah, we didn't had enough space for to keep the bed. And we had a very tiny one stove. That's where we were using kerosene to cook our food.
And how much were you paid for working such long hours?
It was less than $2 a day, around like 180 to 200 rupees, which is around $2. So, and that was basically, it's like being used, like we were making so little that we like it was a cycle. Like we couldn't use that money to change our life. Like it was not enough at all. And all we knew that we are in this space and we have to work, and it's maybe a better than the village, not get forced into marriage, but stay in this space. So, and this was just a new experience. Like as a naive child, as a new person, you don't know anything, and the people on the top, they use the children. So we talk we had no voice to ask for things, and we just work and work.
Wow. And you also mentioned that the sweatshop was associated with the main factory.
It
So can
was
you explain to us how it works? Was it an outsourcing for the main factory? And what were the
yeah.
facilities in the main factory versus the sweatshop?
Yeah, it was definitely connected to the bigger factory. So how it was working, that I have understanding now when I look back to my experience, is like, the foreign manufacturing will come and they will have a deal with like, bigger factories. So the bigger factories, everything looks perfect and good and actually very impressive. And then that bigger factory have the medium factories and small factories, and a small factory have the tiny factory and then mini factory, and then the mini factory have the tiny room which operated by mostly people like us who are undocumented, very very vulnerable indigenous communities, very marginalized rural people. They take and they put them into that room, and those rooms are unmarked buildings. So if somebody would try to like find us, it could never find out because it's hidden in the unmarked buildings. So people just think, oh, it's a room. Like I still remember in the sweatshop, like we had only one window, and that window was covered up with thick cotton. So, and it was like nailed down, like it was nailed, so we couldn't open the window and see outside of the window. Same with our door. We had only one main door that was connected to the alley, and that door was all the time closed. They kept it closed, and that's why, like, if you have like every day 5 or 6 hundreds of clothes, and when it's raw, it smells so terrible. Like, it has filled with chemicals.
Yeah.
So it's like we were like, like really, like we couldn't breathe. We couldn't. It was really hard.
So basically, these were non-ventilated rooms and sort of kept in a corner so that it's untraceable almost. So you were almost invisible to the outer world.
Yeah, and you know, people who are stuck in that situation, I don't think they will be, even if they have courage, whatever they have, they will be not able to come out of that situation because it's very severe and it's there is no hope and no connection to the outer world.
Right.
So yeah.
So almost like they break your spirit.
Yes, I didn't felt like human in that
Yeah.
experience. I still remember, like, you know, my machine would work as fast as machine because in my brain, all they were saying all the time, the agent, like, please finish this, finish this, finish it. So we had to work fast, and then they would put, you know, loud music, and then also they would tell us to put cold water to splash in my eyes so we don't, you know, we feel energized and we just keep doing. And so my fingers felt like a machine and not like a human. And I tell people that I feel like most of my childhood was stolen in this slavery, but the experience of like I was like a used as a machine and fed literally like animal, worse than animal.
Yeah, I feel the pain that you're talking about. In terms of the challenges that most of these underserved communities are facing, how do you think we can change it? And what can developed countries like United States and United Kingdom or Europe do to help change the conditions that these communities are working under?
Yeah, I feel like this is such a good opportunities for affluent country to not see as a challenge, but see this problem as an opportunity, you know. And this is the opportunities for the Western world to really see that how they can use human potential for healing the planet and really creating a connection with the things that we buy and we import. You know, America imports trillions dollars of, you know, products and services that contain slavery. I'm sure same with the Europe, you know, that gets things gets imported that contain slavery. So if the foreign manufacturing and if the Western manufacturing brings their values to these bigger factories and tell them, ask for their supply chain transparency, it will help those underserved farmers, you know, underserved families to have a basic living salary, you know, living wage or basic human rights, so they can become a part of solution, not a problem, you know. And I saw in my community that when we were not having a living wage, what happened is it pushed me to not have a clean water, not have a nutritious food, not have education. And when I didn't have those, you know, basic human rights things, then it puts me into a very vulnerable situation. And then I become dependent on the society. And that dependence becomes a perpetuation of my children, my grandchildren, and it just becomes, it's right now you can feel like what is happening with the COVID, you know, and all that. Like we are becoming so vulnerable, and thousands of people are dying right now, and we are just being ignored. And you know, our bodies are being thrown into the rivers and the waters are being contaminated, and and we don't know what to do. So this is all I feel like, it's opportunities for us to really connect, you know. And the Western world can connect with the things they import, you know, with the things they buy. You know, if you are buying the clothes that you're wearing, make sure to not just, you know, look at the price, but think about the people who made them, you know. Read the label, read about that companies, and try to really support local businesses, fair trade businesses and ethical businesses that is trying very hard to protect the human rights but also protect the environment. Because as you know, like fashion industry is one of the most floating industry right now. And I also feel like, you know, there are a lot of survivors. We need to give a platform to these people to come and speak up, to share the message. Because I feel like if 10 years ago someone would have asked questions, who made my clothes, maybe my childhood was not stolen in slavery, you know. So this time it took me so much sacrifice, so much, you know, like hard work, and some great people who believed in love and service give me opportunities to speak up, you know. And today I'm, you know, I'm speaking, but I want more and more women and girls to speak up, you know, and become an artist, you know, because I feel like as a human in my village, there is just saying that it takes 99 cycle of rebirth to be a human, you know. We're such a powerful form of energy that we can use to transform, to heal the planet, and really experience the beauty and love and care. And we don't need to go through the pain. We're tired of it, we're exhausted. The the indigenous community is losing so much culture, so much traditions, you know. My village language is dying, my village traditions are dying because all of those children and the people are being put into the factory. They don't need to, you know. I don't think America needs, or the Western world needs too much materialistic, you know. There's enough material. We need to connect with that material and really feel where its energy, you know, where it come from.
Yeah. Um, I think we need to reach out to people across countries, across borders, and really do something. Nasreen, that's really powerful. You have been a part of Empowerment Collective. I would like for you to talk about this initiative and what you're doing back for your community on the Nepal-India border as well.
Thank you so much. So when I was 16, before, so I worked in the sweatshop for 2 years, and then the sweatshop gets shut down. I became a street kid, and in the street, I met kind person who dedicated his life almost 10 years to teach me how to read and write. And with that understanding, I was able to understand what human rights is, and that gave me a vision to really protect the most underserved community, and especially women and children. And that inspired me to find a loan. I found a loan at the age of, I think, 16.
Wow.
And yeah, I set up a social enterprise called Local Women's Handicrafts. And if anybody can visit localwomenshandicrafts.com, they will see all the women and meet the women section. And you can read all these women's stories, but also how they're using 100-year-old loom, which does not need any electricity. And we go to these big factories and collect all leftovers, and we weave and we work with hemp and, you know, make these fanny packs. But with in in 2015, I come to America for the first time, and this country, you know, like has such opportunities to heal the planet and really bring the true freedom, you know. And that inspired me to open a 501c3 non-profit organization with a vision to end modern day slavery. And we are creating a campaign which we call 7 keys for global human rights. And that 7 keys includes food, water, shelter, health, education, safe environment, and access to technology. And I'm trying to bring these 7 things into these underserved communities. And we're already working it. We have 2 centers right now, and we're working with these women's. And once we give them these 7 keys, within like a year or 2 years, these women's are becoming leaders and change makers and social entrepreneurs. And that's what we want. We want these women to be a problem solver, change makers, and leader within that community, so they can solve solve their own problems.
Yeah.
Like UK can't go and save Nepal, and America can't go and save Nepal, but Nepali people can save Nepal, you know. So that's what we are trying to do, and we want to have this campaign around 7 keys for global human rights, because this is a basic human rights that I deeply believe that every children that born in this planet must have access to these 7 things, so they can become a human, not a traumatized being which just like feared and living life with trauma, because it's so, only the people who have been through trauma will understand, because it's a life and death experience, you know, and many people lose in that process, and they never make this far, you know. And I'm so blessed to the universe and to the God for bringing me all this far to share this. And now I'm going to just fight for this, to make it accessible, these 7 keys for every children that born in this planet.
That's amazing, Nasreen. If there was one thing that you would like to leave the audience with, what would that be?
One thing that I really deeply feel like, this is this is our time,
Yeah.
and in this our time we have to connect, you know. Please don't, you know, don't separate yourself from different communities, different culture, different race, you know. You're part of it. We are big families, and we all are interconnected. And what COVID did, it showed us, you know, one person being unsafe, it made us all unsafe, you know.
Exactly.
So if we all are healed, we all will be like living and experiencing happiness, you know. So this is our time to come together and really connect with one another. And even though if you're far, you're not far anymore because of the technology, you know, we can really, I feel like the whole supply chains that is feeling very exhausted and feels like, oh my God, we can never solve these problems.
Yeah.
Through technology, we can map out all these whole supply chains and really educate people. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think technology is moving towards that, to be able to connect to our supply chain and have the right transparency required to say, really see who's making our clothes, who's making our handbags, who's making our shoes. So thank you so much, Nasreen, for the conversation today. And it's been such a pleasure.
I really appreciate you. I feel like you're doing such an amazing work by bringing, you know, the social enterprise is the business ethics. I feel like really going to transform the businesses to become and care more about the communities and the nature than just the money, you know, or just the greed or just trying to be on the top, you know. I feel like that era is past, and this is the time for us to connect. So thank you for you doing amazing work and have inviting me.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Nasreen.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Nasreen, for coming on the show today. If you wanted to share more information about where people can find more about you, please do tell us that.
Yes, people can find out more about me and the work that I'm doing at nasreensheikh.com. And there's all the stories. And if anybody wants to support and wants to be a part of our work, they can visit empowermentcollective.org. So we will see you there.
Thank you so much, Nasreen. What a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.